guys, this week we've got a steering column and a power steer box out of a Dodge Phoenix. One of my mates picked up, so we've got to get this rag joint swapped out for him. He's found a slightly better used one, so we'll get that switched over on the column and possibly get rid of the selector lever on the bottom of it for him, because it's not going to have that. And then we'll run through the internals of the box that he picked up out of the wrecking yard. It's a lot less play than what he had, and it's not jammed up and binding up, so should be a good starting point. Now these ones, unlike the Holden and the Ford ones, are held on with a roll pin, so we'll just knock them out and see how we go. Right, so we got that pin punch out. Now we just got to get this collar knocked off. It's been on there a long time, hasn't it? So, what do I got there? First things first, I'm going to knock this shifter lever off with the 5-inch and then have a look and see if there's some way I can use a bit of polyurethane or something to make a bush to support the bottom of that main shaft there, so it stays centered a little bit for him. Okay, so what we've done on the end of the steering column there is taken an old polyurethane shackle bush. Don't really know what the hell that was out of. It was just in a box of leftover bits and pieces. We've cut the shoulder off, lubed it up, and punched it in the end of the shaft. So now, no, it's not 100% tight in there, but it is way better than what we had to start with. So the end of the shaft has got some kind of support there now. Still had a little bit of play, but before there was absolutely nothing there. So that'll be better than what he had. Next, we're going to take his second-hand rag joint that he found. Which way is this going to go? I'm assuming okay, so what we found with the steering coupling, the column has got a bigger spline than or bigger diameter shaft than the steering box, and they're both master splined. So that's all knocked on, roll pinned, guide bush on the bottom's all nice and tight. That one's done. Bruce can take that, do what he wants with that. We're going to get in and get the steering box blown apart now and go from there. Okay, so now I've undone the nut on the bottom of the sector shaft, holding the pitman arm on. We've got our pitman arm puller on there, and hopefully, going by the looks of it, people haven't been in here playing with this thing over the years, and they haven't gummed that up and jammed that onto the spline massively, so it should come off without giving us too much grief. That did pop. What do I want to do? Back that off. There we go. And awesome. So this one's got 4 master splines, so you can't really muck that up when he goes to put it on. But just in case, I'll find where straight ahead is. And that way I know which way it was pointing when it came off. So I want, where's my master spline gone? Here. So the master spline is here. One, two, three, and goes over to here. So it's 3.5 turns lock to lock. So if we go from there, we've got to go 1. Oop, no, hang on, Brian, get it right. So bring it back to there, and we're going to go 1 full turn. And a half. So that pitman arm faces pretty much straight over the top of that forward chassis rail mount bolt. Okay, so he's got a new one of them. I'll leave that on there for now and go to the next bit. Now these Phoenix boxes, unlike the Ford and the Holden one that we did the other day, they've got this valve up the top here, and that's your high pressure inlet and your low pressure return. So what are we going to do there? I'll take the alley piece off first and see what's under there, and then I'll take them off. So the alloy block has got 2 7/16 bolts holding it onto the end there. Leave them partially started. And just give it a tap. Okay. Hopefully his rebuild kit that he found for us comes with, oh yeah, it's just 2 little O-rings on there and fittings where that plate bolts on, and he'll have to get the hose guys to make up a fitting to go on there. Now we'll undo the 2 half-inch ones. That a bump. Alright, so that had our, looks like a spring for a flaming pressure relief or something like that maybe. And there's another one down in there and there. And that's got an O-ring on it, O-ring on it. Oh yeah, that's got an O-ring there that's hardened up and gone flush with the face. So I'll just loosely start this back on, so we know where it all is. And then when we go through and clean it up, and inside of there, okay, a little shuttle valve inside that goes down over that. Never seen one of these boxes before. Not 100% certain. So we'll just pull it apart slowly and see what we find. Okay. That spring comes out of there. What was going to turn that? Nothing. Beep. That's what happens when you do that. I might have to do a little bit of homework, I think, before I go any further on this. I'll see if I can find any information on it, because this is totally different to the Ford and Holden boxes I'm used to. I just want to know what the go is with that there before I go getting into there and pulling all the main part apart of it. The rest of the box is going to be your sector shaft, the adjuster and that'll take the whole sector shaft and the worm nut out, I would assume. And then that is going to undo there, and that's going to be where the input shaft goes in. But by the looks of that, that's also where the Bishop Kirby boxes that they use in the Fords and everything, or the Bendix Bishop, sorry, has a separate housing on the side, and that's where the valve is to move the piston backwards and forwards for the assist. That's obviously here as part of this. So I'm going to have a look and see if I can find some schematics of what's actually inside there before I pull it apart too much further, and then we'll get in and go from there. All right, I'm going to clean up and we'll leave that one here for tonight and we'll come back to it tomorrow when I know a bit more about what's inside there. Night, guys. Okay guys, we're back at the Dodge Phoenix box. I've had a look at some bits and pieces online. There wasn't a lot available, but this valve at the top here that I wasn't real familiar with ends up being where you can adjust your, what would you call it, your bias in the box, where when you power the pump up and it's running and it's pressurized. Apparently the Mopar boxes have got a bad habit of, when you first put them back in the car and you've rebuilt them, don't ever reach through the steering wheel to start it, because if that valve isn't adjusted, because it does have some slop backwards and forwards, not a lot, but that's actually adjusting the pressure switch, differentiation switch, whatever you want to call it, I'm not sure. So what it'll do is put a bias, and if it's out of adjustment, it will send the steering box full lock one way, and if your hand's in the steering wheel, it's getting beat the heck out of. So once it's all together in and back in the car, you're supposed to crack these two bolts in the top of the valve off, and then nip them down to, I think it was 80 inch-pounds or something like that. And then with the vehicle running and jacked up in the air, you have a look and see if this tyres have got a tendency to want to go to the left. And then you can just tap that valve with this hammer gently forward or backwards to stop it and keep it in the center straight ahead position. So never knew that. Now we know what we're in for when we get in there. So this came out of a car at the wreckers, and the rest of the car looked like it had never really been messed with. So, all right, pop that one up there, lift the bolts, and the spring, and a little, I suppose you call that the connector that goes down inside there. And now I'm going to, should have some glasses on, going to have a look and see if I can find my seal pick, because the O-ring for there and there came off. That one looks like it's that old, it's actually stayed in the housing. So I'll just go grab a seal pick and we'll get that out. So this is what I'm talking about here. The block actually runs a large O-ring there, a small one there and there. And how it's been machined, you crack that pair of bolts off, and then this valve will actually slide forward and back and move that lever one way or the other. I suppose it's kind of like the old lever that was on the pitman arm switch on the old ram steer Fords and stuff like that. So if that wasn't adjusted right or over preloaded, then stuff would go pear-shaped on them too. So if we dig that out, over here. The next thing we're going to get off is the sector shaft and the retaining hat for there. So we're going to grab a 3/4. Crack that. Now there was the original box out of the car, and Bruce was told by the people that were going to reco it that it was stuffed, no good, bound up, being over adjusted, blah blah blah. We were thinking about putting a seal kit and everything through that one, but when it came time to pick it up, they had actually blown it to pieces, so they'd got it all apart and just left it all in a box. So not knowing what's inside these, I'd probably rather start with one that I'd pulled apart myself. And we've always got it for references internally anyway. So I don't have a spanner to fit this, so I'll just give it a tap. Dang, okay, she's tight. I reckon we're going to give it a solid first take. I'll get some penetrating fluid. Right, so this thing's just not going to want to play. I've had it soaking for a bit. Now what we'll do is put a bit more on here. Every time we spray it, more rusty, muddy rubbish comes up out of the thread. Give that a second to soak in while I have a bit of a coffee. And then what we're going to do, oh, excuse me, then what we're going to do is get the sucker hot. See if we can't free up some of the rust in the thread and get that cap to move. want to heat the outer housing, A, to break the rust away from inside the thread, B, as things get hot, they expand. And if I can get it to expand away from the thread of the nut, by heating the housing up more than the nut, and hopefully it should break free. Or it might do nothing at all. But I don't want to snap the end of those tags off on the top and damage that collar trying to get it undone. Give it another hit. Suck that stuff down in. And then gently give the housing a bit of a persuade. And then, has it made any difference yet? Nope. It's working some rust off. This doesn't play the game. We might have to go rebuild the box on this 57 Chev and let this thing soak for a few days. But it should go. There we go. All right, that started moving. Now, because that's cracked, will this sketchy aftermarket C-spanner move it? Nope. Okay. Worth a shot. It's going slowly. Come on, surely it's got a hook in somewhere. Dang it. It's not the right, damn it. It's not the right tool, but if I can get it to grab. Nope. Oh, kicking you guys. those two. Come on. It's going to have to be rough and just hit it the whole way around. That is still warm and thread is sketchy, but we put that round to where we marked it, so that's one turn. Two turns. What's that going to be? Three turns. 3.5. So remember 3.5. Let me know when I forget that. Okay. And right. That's full of dirt as well. Which we'll try and loosen up before I pull that cap off so it doesn't go down inside. I'm going to tip that into a bin, then we'll get you back in and show you what it looks like when we take that cap off. Right, so the plan here is, that's our adjustment screw for when you want to set the box up for your play in the sector shaft. The idea is that should be threaded into that cap, and I should be able to wind that down in and pop the cap back out. And I'm just going to make a witness mark here for the orientation of the cap. That lines up with the mark I've got in the box. Because this cap is offset and this is still warm. Wrong way. There we go. That is warm. Whee! Fire is your friend. Also burns your fingers. That's got a seal in the top of it that can pop out. And keep going. What's left of the dry rotted seal. I'm going to need a smaller screwdriver. There we go. So that's our top support cap and our adjuster stud, which is keyed into the top of the sector shaft. So we just slide that out and place the cap over here so we can clean it up and get ready to go back on later. And some bits of the old seal that came through. So now there should be nothing stopping me from taking that sector shaft up and out through the keyhole in the top. I'll just grab, what am I going to grab? A drain tray. So when I pull it out, it doesn't make a mess all over the floor vertically. I'll tried to drain most of the fluid out, but you never know. Put our nut back on. Give it a bump. There we go. Take him back off. There was some still left in there. And that's our sector shaft. Hope you got the right steering box rebuild kit. It's got needle rollers in there. Ah, seal kit. He didn't get anything with bearings. Alright, we might be doing a scab hunt between this and the other box and picking the best housings, best bearings and whatnot and going from there. Alright, I want to clean this mess up and then we'll get around to pulling this assembly here out, the input shaft assembly, and we'll get you back in and have a look at that. Okay, so I've cleaned around that retaining ring and we've soaked it and hit it with heat and we've given it a tap and it started moving, so it wasn't as tight as the other one. So now we're just going to hopefully be able to push this around and get it to wind out. Where did I mark that? There's my glasses. I had a mark on this one as well, same as the other one. Okay, so that one there. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, still in, 4, 4 3/4 on that one. Now, this one I have no idea how we get out of there. Scrape something like gunk out of it. That should just pull out of there. No seals there anyway. What's that? There we go. It's a shimmering. And it's got a tag at the bottom. Oh yeah, lines up with a tag in the bottom of the housing. Alright. Go there. And then what was behind that? Nothing. Nothing but rust. Rust and dirt. Come on. So, what do we do to get that up? looks like that should just slide out of there once you free it up. I wonder if there we go, make a mess. When you assume you got all the oil out of there, you didn't. It's warm too. Okay. So that moves that. Oh no, okay. So that is what I was thinking was in there. Where did they come from? Oh, I see. That bottom needle roller is not great. All right, worry about that in a second because I know where they've gone. They're in that drain tray, thank God. See if I can. Coming. All right, I might have to get that needle roller set up out of the bottom first so I don't drop any more and lose all of them. Give me a second, I've got to have a think. Well, we've got that apart, and I'm not going to lie, it was just frozen in there with mud and rust, and it was just painful. And we thought we got all the oil out of the box. We didn't. So I've got dirty old ATF on me and mud, but we've got it apart. So with that snout that was in there, basically it was just a case of using the hammer and just gentle taps on the outside of it all the way around to shock it, spray it with WD, shock it again, spray it, shock it, and we ended up getting it to grab and wiggle and pull out. Now there is another needle roller down in there that supports the bearing face, and we managed to get it apart and only have two of the needle rollers drop out, which is a bonus, I suppose. Now I'll put them with it, and there's a seal inside there and a seal in the housing there that we have to replace when we wash it up. But for now, I'll put that over here with these ones. Underneath it, when we got it out, is another steel shim with a hole that lines up with a dowel pin that's in the in that piston there when that comes apart. Now, this thing got some dirt in it. Next is that collar there. And that goes that way. Now all these pieces that are coming out, I'm just stacking on the tool trolley over there in order and the direction they came out of the box in. So hopefully it goes back together easier than I think it's gonna. Now this should just slide out. We've got it as far as there, but has it got an issue with should, for all intents and purposes, just come out of there. Come on. There we go. That plate is kicked, I think. Where's my magnet? See if it's going to be strong enough to get it to walk out evenly. A little bit further. Wind that out. Oopsie. What is that doing? Come on. Stuff's horrible and slimy. What if? Turn this upside down. There's more murky flaming oil everywhere. That one has to come out. That's what's holding it. There goes more. We've got everything out. Other than all the oil, we've got everything out. I'll keep playing around with this and see what I can work out. Then I'll get you back and have a look. Okay, so we've got the input shaft and the valve and everything all back inside. Now that took a lot of working out because I've never done one of these before and I can't find anything on the internet for a Dodge Phoenix Mopar B body, A body, B body, E body boxes. They're all the same as this, or very similar. This is just a right-hand drive version, and there's not a heck of a lot of info. So this is what the power steering reconditioners gave Bruce back out of the old box, and they said it's trashed. That is the valve, the lever, I suppose, that goes to the valve up through that port there. That I was saying you tap it forward or backwards, so that way or that way when it's laying in the box to trim the bias, and then you lock the valve down so it doesn't move. So as that whole thing goes in, and there should be the ball nut on there with the serrated teeth that goes onto the sector, that's all inside there, that's normally on there. I replaced all the seals on it and everything. So when it goes in, that port has to line up with that block, which has to line up with the internal part of there, and then it's also got to line up with that hole in the housing as it goes in. Then, I don't have the other cap here, the alloy snout that goes in locks into that pin there so it doesn't turn. So that's got to line up as well. So I didn't record doing that because I still wasn't sure how it was going together myself. So that's all in, all the seals done. The top and bottom sector shaft bearings are done. The bottom sector shaft seal and retainer is done. We've cleaned and wire brushed these up, which are the lock rings to go in there to put pressure on them, and the other one for the top. That's the shim that has the tag that has to line up in the keyway with the outer part of the housing. So we stick that in there first. And where did I make it? Put a mark on here so I could find it. So that one there, which was about there. Okay, so 1 3/4. Where is it? Damn it, blinded to that. So it's that one there. So if I go there. That's your 3/4. 1, 2, nearly up to your 3. So I'll grab my C-spanner. And we bring that back around to where the dots line up. That should give us our position that we had when I pulled it apart. There we go. Done. So that's one. What else do I have to do now? So that's done. That's done. Cool. Now I'm just going to turn the input shaft and center the gears up for the sector. So it's in the middle of the keyway. So if I show you down in there, that worm nut has 3 teeth cut into it. Where's the light? So it's got 3 teeth cut into it. And then you've also got the teardrop cut there, and that's where the sector shaft's going to drop down and through. So that's centered. We've got our sector all cleaned up. And now we're going to drop that down in with a little bit of grease where it runs on the bearings. And a little bit on the teeth where it goes into the mesh. Just for now. That's got 3 teeth cut onto it as well. So that should drop down in, pass through keyhole. What am I doing? Why won't that go through? Everything looks like it's lining up. Come on. Top one goes through. Grab a light. See if we can see that. Looks like it should all go through. No edges on it. Might have to have a look, that might be, oh, I do have the circlip on the bottom of the seal holding it back in, maybe I have to take that off. Let's have a look. Well, I'm not 100% sure what was down there, like whether it was just the seal catching a bit or whatever, but it just needed a gentle persuade to go down. So, and that's all in there. We've lubed up inside of there, through all the gear nuts and everything. Now this is the hat that I said is offset, and I've witness marked it to line up with the housing again. And I've lubed up inside of there where the sector actually sits into it as well. Now, see if I can get this thing to start. Okay, so that's got a new seal on it. There's nothing else to go in there. I've got it all. Yep, cool. All right. So now we'll just wind this one down till it lines up. And that should just gently pull that down into place for us. Okay, so there's that. I'm not 100% sure that was down all the way. So now, this one had to go back in, and so that was there. that was our half. That's right, just had a dodgy thread in there. So that's nearly 3.5. Oop. Just put them bumped around a little more. And snug it down with a drift and a hammer like we did before. Nearly. Done. Okay. And that's our adjustment screw for our sector. Now, there was a seal that had to go on the top of that, which was that one. What have we got over here? That one. Pop him in their place. Just leave that by hand for the moment. All right. What do we got now? That one. I just want to make sure it's home. That one's done. That's done. Now, the only real thing left is to set that up, but I'll find center of the box first. So, there's our master spline there. So the master spline lines up with that. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4 hair over 3.5, lock to lock. So we're going to go 3.5. We want to go back to the center. So we're going to go half, 1, 1.5, 1 3/4. So to confirm it, I'm going to line that up there. One, 3/4. 3/4. Okay, so master spline lines up at 12 o'clock, and that's centre of the box. And that way, when Bruce goes to put it in the car, master spline at 12, steering column master spline will go on, and then he can put the steering wheel on, and everything will be in centre. So now I need to find those 3 seals for there. That one, and this one. So they're either really worn out or they were flat section seals. What do we got? The kit does not come with flat section O-rings, so that one maybe. Close. This one. There we go. That one's better. And they both look the same. Lord, I hope they're the ones. There's nothing else left. Oh yeah? That one. And that one. So there are 3 for there. Nothing else in the kit lines up with that. Alright, so now all we've got is this valve, pin and spring to clean up, and then we're ready to pop it all on. Okay, so we've matched up our seals for up on the top of the valve head there. Now this is just a little spool valve, shuttle valve that's inside of the block that sits up there and adjusts. Now these, you don't want to clean them with emery tape or anything aggressive. You don't want to what would you say, change the machined edge on the side. The side of those pieces there, if you change that, then the bleed off may change. So you just want it clean. And then when we put it back in, want a little bit of ATF on it. So it's nice and free and looped up. And then that goes back in with the socket facing that hole at the bottom. Don't force these. They will be hard to start in there because they're a fairly squarely machined edge on them. But with lube and just a gentle wiggle as they go in, then you'll get it to line up. And the hole in that valve has to line up with the hole in the bottom of that plate, which then lets it go over that socket there as we turn that all over and screw it down. With those two, I'll just give them a quick hit in the top. these are the ones that only get torqued up to a fairly light inch-pound rating, and I'm still yet to find anything to confirm how tight. So I'm just going to snug them down for now, and I'll see if I can find any more info, because there was bugger all on this Dodge stuff. So, right there, right there. And start him. Him. Make sure the other two O-rings haven't popped out of place. Okay. Now I should be able to just hold that down. And then down my hand. So that's really all the adjustment you get out of that. It's not a hell of a lot, but it does apparently affect. So when it's in the car, you crack those, snug them back down to 80 inch-pounds, I think it was. And then with a hammer, with the car idling, if it's starting to turn left, you just bump it till it stays in one spot. You can turn it straight ahead, then you snug them down. So until Bruce gets it in the car, I can't really do a lot. So they're snug. And we've got two more O-rings to match up for this front port. Which will be those two. A bit of a flush through. Cuts on the phone. Right, clearing cuts bits, apparently. So now that one just has one O-ring there, one O-ring there. It goes on there. These two little buggers. And that's our low side return. That one at the top there's our high side supply. Don't put that one back to front. Bruce found out that the hardware in his old box, that's why it was at the reconditioners. He hooked it up the wrong way, and it set the steering box hard left and then blew every seal out of it and exploded everywhere. So now he knows which way to put it, and he also knows to adjust that or get it onto a trailer and get it over, and we'll do it when we do the alignment. should be a copper O-ring for under this one. Is that what they give us now? Sure not. Okay, they don't give us one for there. I'll go through my stash and see what I've got. Hang on. And this is one of the reasons why I normally don't fit parts supplied by customers. Like, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this kit, but there's a lot of stuff that isn't, either it isn't in there, and the guy I usually use for supplying stuff doesn't bring this kind of stuff in, or it's for a different model, and because I didn't order it, I don't know what it's for, but for the most part it's okay. There's just a lot of little fiddly things, like it didn't come with bearings, no gasket for there. Some of the seals didn't look exactly the same as what came off the vehicle. What's that? Put it away, damn it. So you normally supply your own and use them for a customer's job. And that way, if something goes pear-shaped, I know it was my fault or the fault of my supplier. But here's what it is. See if they go on this one. Okay, so what size washer is on this one? Is that the one that is? Close enough. That one we won't put back on because it's ferrule and he needs to get a new hose made up anyway. So now, with it in the straight ahead spot, we're going to adjust our sector shaft, or get it as close as we can for now. Tiny bit more, go half. Quarter more. Back just a hair. We'll leave it at that until it gets in the car. Once that's in the car and everything's been settled and it's been cycled through a few times, we can do a final adjustment on that. Now, the only thing is to get the pitman arm that Bruce wants to put back on here, because we couldn't get a Dodge Phoenix anywhere for the moment. So out of the two boxes, he's got one that's better than the other. So we're going to put that one on now. I'll go find where we put that and we'll sit that on, and let's say we're pretty much done. Okay, so we've cleaned up the good pitman arm, I suppose, or the better pitman arm. We've given it a light grease and we're ready to tighten up the nut on the sector shaft. That's all it needs, doesn't have to go stupid tight. Okay, so we're pretty much done. Ready for Bruce to drop that and steering column into the car and run his piping and then set that valve up and adjust that final preload on the sector. So that's it. That's Mopar A, B and the E-body power steer box, or Dodge Phoenix in Australia, right-hand drive steering box. Yeah, not too bad to do. But in saying that, we did get supplied a kit with a whole lot of stuff that wasn't really for this box. And we also didn't pull the actual worm nut apart on this section either, because the one that we had, the box we had, was actually a nice operating box, unlike this one that was in the car. So yeah. Plus I couldn't find any specs on anything anywhere really. Like, I don't know what the Mopar guys do, or if there's manuals over in the US or something like that, but I couldn't find anything online for info for it, for specs, clearances, torques, anything. So yeah, that'll do us for now. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.